Hi, my name is Bill Snyder. And this podcast is 12 Steps to Freedom. And I'm the founder of my prison ministry, 12 Steps to Freedom, Inc. And I am the author of a recovery workbook, uh, recovery program that I created. And it's called 12 Steps to Freedom Recovery. And it's making its way, making um, waves inside Coastal State Prison to see people um, find hope, to figure out what happened to them in their past, and to give someone a little piece of hope. Um, is the purpose. That's the purpose of my ministry, to carry the light. And I just wanted to share that with this podcast. I started creating podcasts because I just want to reach as many people as I can reach, that they can find freedom. And finding freedom is through Jesus Christ. His name is Jesus Christ. Um, John 14 dash 6. It says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. And how powerful that is. When I turned my life, my will over to care of God in 2023, it was so powerful. It was dramatic. And ever since then, every day, and I still do it every day, is I pray and I ask Jesus for direction. Um, I walk around with God in my heart, Jesus in my head. And, I got directed to create this prison ministry. I got directed to carry the message of light into the darkest places possible, and that's the prison systems, um, rehabs, people that are broken, that don't understand what happened to them, how they ended up in their life in chaos, or they just don't understand they don't have happiness. They feel lost, or they feel broken inside. And that even goes for, and I've been really dealing with this a lot lately, running into it. People, that's not broken, like, well, broken, but not incarcerated. Because I mean, that's where I came from, incarceration. For those that you don't haven't watched some other podcast, or read my recovery workbook, but Christians that goes to church and prays to God and does everything that they believe that they're supposed to. They read the word. They feel like they're doing everything they're supposed to do, but for some reason there's still something missing inside. They're mm, I'm gonna put it plain and simple. They're still doing their will. I see it. I run into them, and I was talking to someone. I don't know. It was 5 months ago or something like that. And this person knows the Bible inside and out. I don't. I'm new, a new Christian. I'm a member of New Beginnings Community Church in Richmond Hill, Georgia. But and I go to church every Sunday. I missed last Sunday because I was sick, very sick. Today is Tuesday, and I'm starting to get better. I've been sick all day. I've had a massive headache for like 3 or 4 days. But anyways, there's people that go to church and they're doing everything they can, but they're missing something. And I was talking to this gentleman, and he's saying something. He didn't have purpose, and he doesn't know what his purpose is. And he was suffering some depression and stuff. And he's been going to church and a Christian for 20 something years. And when I said to him, I said, "Well, just ask Jesus for direction." He thought that was profound, and he kind of like did a little, just ask Jesus. Like, well, yeah, that is the answer. And for some reason, maybe some people like lose their way in that. And I don't want to be judgmental or say I know everything. I just know what happened to me when I turned my life over to God, and when I started asking Jesus for direction, I got direction. I found my purpose. And to me, it was simple and easy. When we turn our life and our will over to God, what does that mean? How powerful is that? I say that quite a bit. I say it in prison when I go in there too. Think about those words. You're going to turn your will over to Him, to God. No longer Bill Snyder's will. What does that mean? Is that just words, or is there going to be action behind those words? Are you actually turning your life over to God and you're going to start doing His will? What would God's will for you be to be? And I can't tell you that answer, but I can tell you who can. God can. Jesus can. Ask Jesus every day, every day, every day, all day. Jesus, give me direction, give me the knowledge, give me the will, give me the power to carry out, to do your will, Lord. And the answer is going to come to you. You're going to know. And if we're suffering from things, and a lot of us do, I'm going to jump around in this podcast, but I just want to try to, like I said, reach as many people as I can, and just try to give a piece of hope to people, and let them know that Jesus is the light, Jesus is the way. He's You don't get healed without Jesus. Um, in my recovery workbook, um, it all leads right to Jesus. Something I was talking to somebody about the other day. We got in a conversation and stuff about recovery and stuff like that. And there is nobody, uh, you know, f this is my personal opinion, a redeemed, um, alcoholic, drug addict, spiritually broken, depressed, a mess of a person, which was me, um, that becomes redeemed. But I have all this experience in my past. I mean, I know what it's like, and there's nobody can go to school to get the training that we got. I'm not just talking about me. There's millions of us out there that went through the gambit of all that, the atrocities of a childhood, the bad stuff, the really dark stuff that happened to us, and we didn't have understanding, and we turned to drugs, alcohol, we lived a dark life and all that. There's millions of us. And when we're redeemed, there is no one more qualified to help someone that's in that position that we were in, that's going through the stuff that we went through, but we found Jesus. We found the way. We found the light. We found the purpose. And to try to convey that to a person, you can't go to school. You can't get a degree to be able to teach what we can teach. A non-alcoholic person that's never been through, drug addiction, alcohol addiction, and all that stuff, or I don't know, really dark stuff. I don't want to go pointing out a bunch of different stuff, but no one that's went through that can really teach or guide or mentor or direct someone better than someone that's been through it. I guess that's is what I'm trying to say. And the whole thing with the whole purpose of turning someone's life around is getting them to turn their life and their will over to care of God. And but a lot of broken people don't believe in that, understand that. I mean, that's a battle in itself. But as far as qualifications, if you're listening to this and you've been through the gambit and you turned your life and your will over to care of God, and you start praying every day for direction, He's going to direct you to go in the dark places to carry the light of Jesus, because that's where you came from. And I say that because I would love for more people, and there's already a lot of people, a lot of prison ministries that go back in and try to help. And there's people that's trying to help. I see, and I'm getting off track of a bunch of things because I was talking about Christians not really believing. So I'm gonna stay on that path. Let me try that. My brain has been going. I've been thinking about doing this podcast all day. Um, I took some Alka-Seltzer Plus. I'm drinking a Coke, so I'm a little scrambled. I'm just getting over that sickness. But I really kind of want to really hit on, talking about, Christians that, are still missing something inside and they don't know what it is. And I want to just point out, and this is my opinion, and I believe it to be 100% true. If you got on your knees tonight or today and you turn your life, you just ask God, don't matter if you've been a Christian for 40 years and you know the Bible up and down, But if you're missing something, try this. God, I want to turn my life and my will over to you. Started today. Take me, do with me what you will. Just give me the direction, give me the wisdom, give me the knowledge to carry your message, Lord. And I tell you, your life is going to start changing right then. And for me, I had to when I first started doing this way back because I was in Alcoholics Anonymous for 10 years. I had to put it on a piece of tape and put it on my mirror so I saw it every morning because I wasn't used to praying all the time. And but now I pray every day throughout the day. Jesus, just give me the direction that you want me to go. Give me the wisdom, give me the knowledge, and just give me the direction. Any kind of version of that every day. When you're driving in your car, put it on your steering wheel every day until you get in that habit. I don't have it written down anywhere now. I just automatically do it all the time. And you're going to get direction and you're going to find that purpose that you have in life. And you're not going to have, I got a mountain to climb with this prison ministry. There's so much I want to do. I fund it all myself. I'm on disability. And I make enough money for myself, but I don't have enough money to do what I want to do with this ministry as far as helping um, broken people coming out of prison um, that's lived really dark lives that want to turn their lives around that are human that were made in the image of God. And that's a big mountain to climb. And I don't have anxiety over it. And I'm not frustrated or anything like that. I create these podcasts because I want to reach more people and try to give them some hope. And the hope is Jesus. Jesus is the answer. Man, it's just so powerful. It's just so easy for me. I still go through stuff. But I don't have bad days. I have bad hours, and hopefully one day I can get away from that because I turn it over to Jesus. I turn it over to God. I ask God to take it away, give me direction for whatever I'm going through a crisis. Something bad happens, and I can lose my temperature, temper, but but it's better today. It's easier today, and I guess I'm reaching out to a lot of people. People that are Christians. If you're missing something, just ask God. Turn your life, your will, over to care of God and think how powerful those words are. Them are powerful if you're really, really wanting to do that. You're going to turn, it's not going to be your will no more. It's going to be His. My will is I want to go fishing and, go hang out and do nothing like that. That's Bill's will. That's not Jesus's will. And for me, Jesus' will is to carry the message of light into the darkest places on this earth and to just help people. I'm 63. I know I got more time behind me than I have in front of me. And do I feel a big urgency? I don't feel a big urgency, but I feel a major need to accomplish something to help people to have something built that's still there when I go to heaven. And so that's why I create these podcasts. That's why I created this prison ministry. And I'm still trying to build that. I mean, it's a mountain to climb. I have no clue what I was doing. I maybe still don't have no clue what I'm doing. I just know what direction and what my purpose is and what God wants me to do. And every day I try to do something one step forward, one step forward. I'm supposed to tomorrow's Wednesday, I go to the Coastal State Prison. I'm supposed to, and I hope it comes to be, God willing, that we're going to have a phone conversation with the second in command of the prison system because I want my recovery workbook put in the hands of every inmate in Georgia State Prison. I want it to be taught in every prison. There's 33 prisons, the last I checked. Whether those numbers are 100% correct or not, I don't know, but that's what I got off of Google. But I want my program because I know what my program, if people get honest and work the steps, it's going to lead them to freedom. And it's called 12 Steps to Freedom because that will lead them to freedom. and they'll find a purpose in life. God will, you can be redeemed. You turn your life and will over to care of God, you can be redeemed. You're inmate, you've done some bad stuff in your life and stuff, but society is a different story. I wish I could change the people's views of inmates, but I guess, I mean, we do hear about someone getting out of prison and committing another harsh crime and they go back, and there's reasons for all that. And I believe my recovery program that I have, that I developed, with the help of God, um, can change that, can change people's lives dramatically. But and I'm just one step at a time, one day at a time, and so I try to do that. But I want to help, anybody and everybody, um, wherever someone that's not walking with Jesus, someone that doesn't have a purpose. If you don't have a purpose, that means you're not asking Jesus, um, because you don't get freedom without Jesus. So, and you got to rely on him every day. Don't rely on you, or it's okay to, if you have a spouse, to run things by each other for direction on what you're going to do in your life or with this situation or that. But the ultimate is Jesus. Start leaning on Jesus for direction. Um, he's if we're Christians, we know God's real. We know Jesus is real. We pray, we do all that. We got to believe that he's going to answer our prayers. You just know it. He's going to answer it. And I know for me, I might not get the answer that I really wanted. Maybe I was trying to take my will, but it's just God will be done, not mine. And life gets easier like that, and it's exhilarating for me, to carry the message of Jesus, and of hope and of freedom and of purpose. And again, that's why I started this podcast, because I want to reach hundreds, thousands. I don't know. I've never even dreamed that I would start a podcast. But I had that urge, that nudge, that desire, and I believe that's part of Jesus's will for me, God's will for me, to create a podcast. Create a podcast. I don't know if I'm good at it or not. No clue. I don't have a script. I don't have anything. I just have, what's in my heart and what's in my brain, and what I'm trying to do. And I know what the most joy I get out of anything in life is talking about Jesus, talking about helping the broken man and women. There are so many people, and I mean, our country is in turmoil and stuff, and I try not to watch the news and stuff. And I prayers work, and I want to ask everyone if they could, pray, for our country and for our leaders to make the right decisions on all this chaos that's going on. And speaking of prayers, I would like to ask everyone to pray for 12 Steps of Freedom Prison Ministry, pray for the strength and the power to carry out God's will, because it's very important. And I know there's a lot of prison ministries and stuff like that, and I'm not saying I'm unique and I'm better than anybody or anything, but I believe I'm the only one with a recovery program like mine, and I believe there's just this big gap, that there's a need for it, and I see it turning inmates' lives in prison now. And there's no greater joy for me to see that. And I know it's all God's will. I had no idea I was going to start a prison ministry. It was probably 10 months ago. I couldn't even put two sentences together and celebrate recovery at my church on Tuesday nights, but, God had plans for me, and it's just an amazing thing. And, like I said, if you're a Christian and you're missing something and you're doing everything you're supposed to be doing, but you're absolutely, it's not, that freedom isn't there. Um, One thing, you can get my 12 Steps to Freedom workbook off of Amazon. Just type in the number 12 Steps to Freedom, and you'll see my workbook on there. And, work that program. Because there's a lot of things that happen to us, whether we're Christians or not, and we think we dealt with it or whatever. But there's a program in there. Well, the third step is you turn your life and your will over to care of God. That's very powerful. And then the next step into that is doing a personal inventory. And if you follow that, and I've heard people say, um, in programs and Celebrate Recovery, I've heard them say it in Alcoholics Anonymous that you don't want to go down there in the cellar and dig up all that bad stuff from your past because it'll hurt. It's just causing unnecessary pain. Not true. James 5:16. Please don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. I'm trying to get better at scripture, but the scripture talks about, confess to confess to each other and pray for each other, because that's how we heal. That's how we move on from stuff. If you've never done that, if I've had some dark things happen to me in my past I never told anyone about, but today I walk in total freedom because there's not one thing that comes to my mind that another person doesn't know about me. I put it out there. I don't talk about it in public settings. There's only one person that knows everything, and I would never repeat that stuff because I don't have to. I confess my sins. I confess dark stuff, really bad stuff, and but that's how you find freedom. Um, and it's powerful and it works. You can go on my website and see what 12 Steps to Freedom is all about, what my mission is. I put a video on there on a short video, a 10-minute video, uh, why I started this prison ministry and stuff. My website is number 12, STF, samtomfrank.org. Go in there and check out my website. I got everything on there. You can order my recovery program workbook on there, and you can donate to my cause. If you don't, you can't. That's fine too. But I ask everyone to support my prison ministry and what I'm doing with prayers. That is so powerful. You just pray to give me the strength, the direction to carry out this purpose that I have, my mission that I'm on. And the mission I'm on is to carry the light of Jesus everywhere I go. And pray for these podcasts. I'm going to keep making these. I get excited about it. I just want to share the message that there is hope for all of us, no matter how dark our past is. God can redeem us. No matter how broken our life is, no matter what's happened, no matter how broken we are and we think there's no way, God can fix that. And there is no addiction, this is a fact. There is no addiction so strong that God can't break. And that program will walk you through all that. And it's just very powerful. It feels so good. First time in my life I've walked in total freedom. And I have nothing to hide in my past. I have no interior motives. Someone was asking me, actually, it was my sister, she might be watching this, but asked me kind of a little bit about the money, about how all this stuff works and stuff. Well, I already know I'm not going to be a millionaire creating a prison ministry. I ain't gonna make any money. I'm not doing it for the money, period. I'm doing it because that's what Jesus wants me to do. I sold real estate in my past, and if I wanted to be a millionaire, or if I wanted to make money, I would get my license again and go sell real estate. But after I turned my life over to God in 2023 and started asking for direction, the direction wasn't to get back into real estate and hop on that wagon, hop on the horse, the saddle, whatever. You know, go back down that avenue, which I could. I owned a real estate company. I had recruited 120 realtors. I made a lot of money. But it doesn't matter. I'm on disability. I make enough to survive. I got everything I need. And I don't care about being a millionaire. I was a, I don't know if I was a millionaire. My company was worth a lot of money. And I was addicted to drugs and still not happy. This gives me joy like nothing I've had in my whole entire life. And I do it every day. I live it, eat it, breathe it. And I just want to help another person that's walking in darkness and to turn them around and let them know that there's hope, that there's someone that loves them. that someone really cares about them genuinely and wants nothing back in return. That's so powerful, and my pastor drew a tree. I was talking to him about, my ministry and stuff. He drew a tree and he says, because I was thinking, if I can just, when I very first started this, I was like, if I can just reach one person, I believe I've accomplished, what God wants me to do. And he drew this tree. I don't know why it's going to make me tear up a little bit. But you touch one person, and then that person goes and touches another person, and then that person goes and touch. You don't know how many people's lives you change just by changing one person's life. How powerful, how powerful is that? For me, that's dramatic. That's powerful. And that just gives me the drive, and because someone did it for me when I was in prison. When I got out in 86, I found Alcoholics Anonymous in 86 when I was in Mansfield Reformatory in Ohio. I have a cold, but I was tearing up. But because it's all power. Jesus is amazing. It just I just want to do everything I can to reach people. But people went into the prison into dark places in '86, and it reached me, and I turned my life over to God. Then I lost my way after 10 months or 10 years, but that doesn't matter. Here I am. I'm 63 now, and I just want to every day just carry the message of hope and into the darkness. So I hope someone got something out of this podcast. I would hope, it would do me a great, give me great joy if you would subscribe to my channel, hit the thumbs up, like thing. I hear other people saying that on podcasts, so that's what I'm doing. I do have some followers, so if you could follow me, and I'm gonna just keep posting these things. I put this on YouTube and Spotify, and I just want to reach as many people as I can to give hope. Because no matter, like I said, no matter how dark of a place we are, there is hope, and the hope is Jesus. And I want to thank you for listening to my podcast, and I just God bless, and I hope you find your way, and thank you for listening to my podcast.